The next presentation is by Dr. Jennifer Parker, who's an author, educator, researcher, and nationally recognized presenter whose work centers on adult learning, instructional coaching, educational technology, and AI-infused teaching and learning. As the Faculty Development Coordinator in the University of Florida's Center for Teaching Excellence, he facilitates faculty learning communities, research, and professional development around teaching and learning with AI. Dr. Parker is widely known for her leadership in AI literacy, including the creation of the FLUF test, and her research on contemporary andragogy for AI-infused learning environments. With more than 30 years of experience across the pre-K to 20 education, she is award winner author of Making the Move with EdTech, 10 Strategies to Scale Up Your In-Person, Hybrid, and Remote Learning. Her work has been published in several outlets, and her new book just launched, The Coach Compass, Navigating Tiered Coaching in a PLC at Work. Please help me welcome Dr. Parker.
Welcome, everybody. You are all winners. You are winners of my admiration today. Thank you for hanging in here for the last session. This has been an amazing conference, and hats off to the coordinators and all of those folks that had something to do with it, the presenters, et cetera. So we're going to take this home by talking about something that I'm very passionate about, called information literacy, and it is the FLUF test. How many of you have heard about the FLUF test? How many of you stayed because you wanted to hear what is this thing called the FLUF test? Okay, great. Well, first things first, scan the QR code, it will bring you to the website. Today is gonna be running like a quick spark session. I can't possibly give you all the information there is about the FLUF test, but I can certainly point you in the right direction, so get you to the website. All right. So the FLUF test kind of started with some work that I did at Central Michigan University. I was teaching a digital media literacy class. I did a lot with library science in my career, ed tech. I did some adjunct work in Masters of Learning and Design. And so I was finding that as the students were being introduced to this thing called AI, they were really struggling. They were not sure about if it was lying to them. They were not sure what was accurate, what was not accurate. They weren't hearing good things about it. And so we were struggling together to kind of dip our toes in the water. So from that came this idea of some of these assignments that are now like thinking maps. And the bottom line is we're trying to get to a point where you have zero fluff. Fluff being garbage or inaccurate information or inaccuracies or hallucinations that can sometimes come out of your work with an AI model. So I don't know about you, but did anybody ever in their AI experience feel like you were riding the AI Express? I mean, and the faculty members that we're working with every day, do they feel like this? Some of them got on the train and some of them got off. Anybody feel like Neil Armstrong as the first to experience the moon? Any of you first to dip your toes in the water for AI in your organization? You're an AI leader. Where are those folks in the house? So we're seeing a lot of differentiation here with the perspectives that we're seeing with our implementation of AI. It also brings about some flashbacks for folks. Do you have any faculty or staff that are feeling like, this is just like COVID again? I mean, I struggled to learn Zoom, and oh my God, now they're bringing me ChatGPT. What's going on here? Anybody feeling flashbacks or seeing it in your private Idaho? Well, as we are interacting with AI, we are understanding more and more about it, the functionality of it, and the fact that it can generate fake information. However, it's more than just the fake facts that come out. There are other things that AI generates that we need to be mindful of, and that's where the FLUF test comes into play. So FLUF is inaccuracies. Lots of different examples of FLUF out there. For example, Chicago Sun-Times, they published a 2025 reading list, and 10 of the 15 sources for the students to read were fake. And they got it from a company that generated it with AI. There are all kinds of stories on the web, all kinds of examples of inaccurate information, hallucinations, et cetera, that are out there. And companies losing big money because they're relying on AI. So herein lies our responsibility to kind of educate ourselves. What are we seeing with FLUF with video? Poor Taylor Swift has had her video altered or her audio altered using AI and other tools. The poor girl can't get a break. Deep fakes are out there. I mean, Vladimir Zelensky surrendered in 2022. Did you hear? And this poor actress, she got her head put on another girl in an elevator. These are all possible with the beauty of AI. Even the Dove commercials show the transformation between what you look like without makeup and what you look like with it. And finally, AI and FLUF in text. For example, here's an article that was created by one of our med professors. And when he pulled it up, he's like, this article is not found. This article's got, not accurate data. And only 56%? No, not correct. So you also have inaccuracies in the text that you're seeing. So FLUF is everywhere. So the challenge for us is to build our skills around the models that we have available. Do you understand the models that your organization are advocating for you? Are you using Copilot? Are you using ChatGPT? Do you know its features and functionality? Do you feel comfortable generating an image or text or video using those models that are provided? Do you know how to input, interact, prompt? Are you a good prompter? And then lastly, are you able to critique? Do you have that lens that you can critique what AI spits at you? So how can FLUF help with this? This is where my research got a little more fancy. The FLUF test took me from working with these students and working with faculty through the Center for Teaching Excellence at UF. We used to teach folks about how to critique online resources. Who remembers the CRAP test? Yes, and that was just a great framework, wasn't it? But it doesn't really connect when you're looking at artificial intelligence because there are so many different dimensions of AI. And so this is where the FLUF test developed. And the elements of the FLUF test are format. Is it formatted accurately? Is the layout or the length correct? The language, is it grammatically correct? Where's Heather Manis and the dashes? The dashes, yeah. Usability, we all know that there's lots of sources that are not accurate or citations that are phantoms. Fanfare is kind of a funny word. I got a lot of questions about what does that mean? Well, it's really about audience. Who are you hoping to lure in with your audience? Are you gonna use technical jargon or legal jargon? What should be in that response that appeals to that audience? And then lastly, the function. Do you have the expertise to critique what you're seeing in the AI output? For example, I would trust a pharmacy student to let me know that, when ChatGPT generates, you should do 5 milligrams of rosuvastatin, and that student knows, no, it should be 10, that student has context. But if I'm not a pharmacist, I have no idea. So these are all some of the thinking maps. These are some of the indicators of FLUF that you need to think through as you're moving through AI generative results. So from here, we realize that when you're evaluating AI, it's more than just a fact check. Way more than just a fact check. You're looking at all these other indicators that are spelled out in FLUF in addition to just the facts. The FLUF test is used to help students understand and help users understand what hallucinations can possibly look like the future belongs to those who eat tacos by Albert Einstein. I don't think he ever said that. Or the law of unicorns. I know my law professors love that one. So these great examples of hallucinations that actually popped up can be used in fun when we're teaching this kind of skill. I soon realized in my work with my students and in my work with the faculty that this is going to circle back. It came back to the fact that if they had done a better job with their prompting, they would have had way better results. And they would have spent a lot less time interacting with AI. I mean, how much time do you want to sit there talking to ChatGPT, or do you have things you need to do? I jumped on ChatGPT so I could save some time. So the bottom line is, with the FLUF test, we developed some indicators that are included in a prompt. Now, there are a gazillion prompt helpers out there. Give them to me, people. What are you using for prompt helpers? Yes, there's lots of frameworks. I fell back to Mr. Zielinski's 5th grade writing class. And he said, the elements of a good request are who, what, where, when, why, and how. And that's where I landed with FLUF. So I've got my FLUF indicators, which are specific AI generative output, and I've got what needs to go into that prompt to kind of drive the message. So now, any questions so far? I'm going to share with you some of the templates. All right. Here are these thinking maps. And these evolve. These are out on the website, on the homepage. You can go ahead and make a copy of them, download them, make them your own. There's a Creative Commons on them, so help yourself. The way the FLUF prompt template is it helps your students to think through all of the elements of what needs to be in a prompt. Now, is it a lot of thinking at first? Yes, it's going to take them a minute. It's going to take them a second to say who, in the role of an 8th grade student, what desired output? Create a lesson plan for an 8th grade in a science classroom, for a 2-week unit lesson, for competency of this standard. Answer all these questions as you're thinking through your prompt. If you've got all that information in there, it will generate maybe a long paragraph, but you're going to get a lot better results. Can I get an amen? Amen. Amen. All right, better prompts lead to better results. You guys are a tough crowd here at the end of the day. I know Disney is on your mind. I'm feeling you. Okay, FLUF test checklist is another thinking map that's out there on the FLUF test framework. This is a tick list. When you're looking at your output, what exactly do I need to really be looking for a formatting error? Well, is it too long? Is it too short? Did I ask for an essay and it came out as an outline? Here are all these funky symbols and I just wanted a sentence or two. So you're looking at those kind of indicators and it will talk the student through or the user through the specific things that they should be looking for each of the elements of the FLUF test. That leads to the rubric. You can also use the rubric. A lot of folks like this just to go straight to the rubric because they've done enough with the prompting and the checklist, they feel pretty comfortable with it. Here's where you're scoring. And the pun is definitely intended with the no fluff, okay? 0 fluff, we want no infractions. We want to have done such a great job with our prompting that our output is pretty close to perfect. However, is that ever the case? Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. So when you score your FLUF test rubric, sometimes you have issues with, oh, it wasn't long enough. Oh, I have a couple sources that are incorrect. Or, oh, so this one has a score of 2. I found 2 issues with things that I think I need to readjust or reprompt. And so the message to the student or to the user is if you have infractions or you have a score on your FLUF test, then you need to reprompt. And this is where the lesson in reprompting comes into play, where you're going to talk to students about how do I fix a formatting issue? Well, here's what a reprompt might look like. How do I fix a usability issue? Well, here is what a reprompt might look like. The thinking map, kind of 30,000 foot view, starts with you creating a prompt and thinking through all those indicators. And for the most part, most folks get so good at the prompt writing, at knowing the who, thinking through the who, what, where, when, why, and how, format, language, usability, fanfare, function. They don't need the paper copy, or they don't need the online template. They can just do that in their head and put it in their prompt. Then they look at the output, they prompt the model, they get the output. Then they talk through the checklist. A lot of people get really good with the checklist, and they don't need it anymore. And then they score the rubric. And so as we become more confident and more comfortable with how we look at prompting and how we look at the output through the lens of these FLUF test indicators, we get way more confident and agents of our own AI use. So, with that said, I beat the clock today, and I'm ready to take your questions. And if you didn't get a chance to hit the website, go ahead and scan the QR code. What questions might you have about the FLUF test? Yes? Regenerate as in, like, enter it in the AI model and hit enter.
Yeah, reworking your prompt and
Yes.
regenerating. We know generative AI wants to create novel output. It's probably going to create something very different than what we generated the first time. Is there a rationale for why we wouldn't just edit the output that we already got to take care of the fluff that we found?
And that can be a part of your reprompting conversation with your students. So in my mind, depending on the model that you're using, sometimes it'll go back to the drawing board and sometimes it won't. Depends on my prompt, depends on a lot of things. So there's a lot of outliers there. But I appreciate your thinking. I'm following along. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, mine?
Yeah.
That's just my own personal use, is that I frequently will take what I feel like is 60% output from generative AI and use it as a jumping off point.
It might depend a lot on the model too. Well, there are 11 brave souls who have used the FLUF in research studies that are also posted on the website. If you're interested in trying to use it in your class and you want to connect, our Center for Teaching Excellence, our director, Alex Baton-Bailey, is here, and we're happy to collaborate or work with anyone.
How would you recommend, so if you're teaching a class about AI or about technology, it's pretty easy to plug and play these types of principles. If it's not an AI discipline, if it's a different discipline, how would you recommend scaffolding this concept across a whole semester? Would you do it all at once, or would you build it throughout the course?
So there's a couple pieces to your question. The first word that kind of pops to me is the word discipline. I've used the FLUF test across multiple disciplines: law school, 8th grade science teachers, College of Medicine, emergency med, Journal of Communications. They've all tried this in their own work and with students. So I think it's agnostic, discipline agnostic. So depending on the level and the expertise of AI with your students, you might have to you might have to spend a class period, but I don't really think you do. I did this in the fall of 2023, when it was first out. I covered it in about 30 minutes with my students online, and then they did the assignment in like an hour and a half. There are templates on the website that'll show you how to walk students through, create your prompt, post your results. The other piece about using the template, and I guess my response is it's all up to you and what your students' abilities are. We also know that our students think they're way smarter than they are. And so they might have a few things to learn with regard to what should be in a good prompt. We can all make improvements, and so introducing a framework like this helps them to kind of navigate. Question in the back?
Hi. Thank you so much for this. I'm really excited to put this into action. I teach first year, I'm the director of first year writing at my university, so this fits really well. But you mentioned the CRAP test, so I was wondering, have you been working with the librarians at all on your campus? Has there been any engagement with them?
There has. So I actually have a library science degree,
Nice.
like Margot in the house, Dr. Johnson. And so we had one of our first research and teaching and learning groups had a couple of librarians that actually worked with the FLUF test. So yes.
Thanks.
I'd love to go to ALA and make them all drink the Kool-Aid.
I'm curious if anyone's tried building the GPT within a course
An
that
agent?
students can use before they turn in their assignments that have some sort of AI support, and then
Yes.
their own results, self-assessment from a FLUF test perhaps could be part of it. I'm just thinking also scalability, instant feedback for students, especially if we have lots of students, and rubrics that we're grading on content, though I guess that's in question as well.
I did have a professor in large animal science in her work with the manatees. She had the students create an agent using the FLUF to try and critique their own work. She created one in front of them to show them how it worked, and she used it as an example.
Yeah, actually I have a bit of a follow-up to that question. I'm curious, the way the test is set up, it seems to assume, even though it's an iterative process, it assumes that the AI is generating content for which the human then does quality control. And I'm curious if the test works when you flip that around a little bit. So AI agents are one example where the interaction is different and doesn't work quite that way. But also we might think about when a student has something they've created and they have the AI give them feedback on it. So the AI is doing quality control for the human instead of the other way around. Or when a student uses AI in a conversational mode where they're going back and forth with it a whole bunch in developing an idea, as students really like to do. In what ways does this kind of test apply when that underlying assumption of human doing QA on an AI is flipped or works differently?
That circles back to the whole idea of trying to get it to interact with me. I'm thinking about that work with the from the perspective of the large animal science example where we built the agent. The students kept interacting, kept uploading their work, kept asking examples. So I don't know if I answered your question, but
I was just curious whether you'd have to adapt the scale to have it work differently if the mode of interaction with the AI is different from AI generates content, human critiques it.
I think so. I don't think so. But it'd be worth trying, and we're worth taking it to the next step. Call me, we'll talk. We'll try that. Let's try that. All right, well, thank you everybody for being here. I appreciate you, and have a wonderful trip home.